All right, so today I want to do a little bit of a different style of video. This is obviously a top-down, so kind of a digital digest style. Not sure how well this will capture this, but this video is essentially about what I don't like about iOS, or kind of my problem with the iPhone. And really, it has nothing to do with the iPhone itself and everything to do with iOS. So personally, I really like the hardware. I feel the build quality is always top notch, but as soon as I start using my iPhone again, really the limitations of iOS immediately start to show themselves to me. And now, honestly, I don't want to just tell you that, hey, iOS is a bad OS, because it's not. I just don't think it's as polished as it should be, or could be, really. And of course, I have an Android phone here on the right to kind of demonstrate and show you the kind of nuances of this compared to iOS. Now, this is a foldable, but obviously I'm only using one screen, but you'll get the gist of it. But I'm kind of trying to show you the differences, or the beef that I specifically have with iOS. And so basically, the first thing that really bugs me is the way they do folder management, or when you're setting up your folders in iOS. So, I've got all my folders set up, but it really took me forever to do this. Specifically, you've got to do the whole hold it down, let it jiggle, and then drag it. So, like, I got a new app here. I'll try and show you. I'll edit my home screen. I'll drag this little guy around, and let's say I want to make a folder. You've got to chase it and get it on there just right. Again, like I said, I hate doing this method, but eventually, if you can get it to get on top of it, you can eventually start a folder. But the thing that sucks is, once you get that, you still have to do it for every single app that you want to add to that folder. And you can see how big of a pain in the butt it is, and it really drives me nuts. Now, for Android, the same thing happens when you want to start the initial folder, which I don't like, but let's go in a folder here. So once you have a folder created, and I try and match up on my phone, so I've got my finance folders. With iOS, I've got to do the same stupid jiggly method where I got to drag it over to the folder. But on Android, it's as simple as, hey, hit the little plus button, and I can pick as many or any app that I want, and it's super fast to create folders within Android. I don't know why iOS is like this. It's a simple software fix. I just wish they would do it. But that's the first thing that just bugs the crap out of me when it comes to iOS. Next thing that is really annoying to use an iPhone is the navigation. Now, the gestures, obviously you still got gestures just like you got on Android, but specifically the back gesture. Now let's go into the settings and I'll show you what I'm talking about. We'll open our settings here. Now, let's say I want to just, whatever, I'll pick one of these. So we'll go into, let's see, battery. Now, if I want to go back, of course, I can go up here, I can hit the back button, or we'll just open anything in here. I can swipe, but with the iPhone, you can only swipe from the left side. So if I swipe from the right, nothing happens. But if I go to the left, then I can go back. But with Android, it doesn't matter if I swipe left or right. And with Android, if I keep swiping, eventually it'll just close the app. Whereas with Apple, nothing. So again, the gestures in iOS are essentially half-baked. So if you're using a larger phone like a Pro Max model, then you have to reach all the way across, which I imagine with how much wider the Pro Max models are, it's kind of a pain to reach across in order to swipe your back gesture. Whereas if they would just make it where you do it on either side, it would be way easier. Personally, I usually hold my phone in my right hand, so it just makes more sense to swipe from the right to the left. But I guess if you're left-handed, then, you can swipe from the left. But I don't know why they just don't make it universal, where you can do it from either side as you can on the iPhone, or I say Android. So you can swipe either side. But that's really my second big gripe and pain in the butt when it comes to actually using iOS. So again, continuing with the gestures, adding a swipe up gesture to bring up all your apps, I think, is way more effective than just having to go all the way over. And then, you know, you've got this mess that you can't get rid of that I hate. Whereas on Android, I just swipe up, I got all my apps. But to me, it's a wasted gesture because if you swipe up, it really doesn't do anything except send you home. But you've got, you know, where you could swipe up and it could give you something like on Android, get all your apps. But, and of course, I can swipe down and I can search my apps, but it just seems way less intuitive, way less efficient to get into all your apps or your app library on iOS. It's just, those are the things that really annoy me and just make me appreciate the simplicity of Android. I just swipe up, I got all my apps. Simple as that. And moving on to the next thing that really bugs me, and that is just home screen personalization. You know, starting with the widgets. So obviously now you can use widgets. As you see, I've got some, but iOS really limits you to the size of the widgets, types of widgets. So you can't really have a full screen widget. So here on this page, I've got my widget, which is my map, or I've got my widget, which is my calendar, and I can span it all the way across. Now, when I was setting up the iPhone, I tried to do it, and this is the only widget, the largest widget it would let me use. So if I want to get my calendar, I have to actually click on it. Whereas with here, I swipe over and I got my calendar. I've also got it on the other side if I want it. But to me, so much better. I mean, the widgets are getting there. At least they finally have them on iOS after, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. They finally added widgets, but they're still kind of half-baked in my opinion. You've got them, but they're nowhere near as customizable as what you get on Android with their widgets. Just having the ability to make the widget as big or as small as you want it to be. So again, everybody's different, and for most people, these particular nuances or annoyances with iOS may or may not matter to you, but coming from someone who consistently switches back to Android and uses Androids essentially every day, I use this as my secondary device. It's just so much more intuitive. The iOS is just so much better, or I say the OS is just so much better, user-friendly, and I think just lets you get work done with less steps than what you get with iOS. Now again, like I said, I'm not hating on iOS. It is a good OS. I just think it definitely needs improvement to bring it up to Android when it comes to efficiency, ease of use, and just, you know, customization, of course. But with that, let me know what you guys think. I'm curious in the comments if you think whether you use iOS or Android, it doesn't really matter. I'm just curious if you feel my frustrations or if you think, oh yeah, iOS is great, Android's a pain in the butt. So let me know down below. I'd be interested to read that. And as always, I appreciate you guys for watching. Thanks.